Heya Cryptozens, welcome back to the Crypto Overnighter. My name is Nikodemus and we do crypto news analysis nightly at 10 p.m. And keep in mind, none of this should be considered financial advice. And it's Tuesday, March 7th, 2023. U.S. lawmakers are expected to reintroduce a bill on crypto taxes. The Keep Innovation in America Act is championed by U.S. Representatives Patrick McHenry and Richie Torres. This bill aims to change how crypto is taxed. It will define a crypto broker as, quote, any person who, for consideration, stands ready in the ordinary course of a trade or business to effect sales of digital assets at the direction of their customers. This definition is much more narrow than the current one. The lawmakers say they want to reform reporting requirements because they think the current rules hurt crypto innovation. According to the bill, the current rules don't work with the technology. The current rules could also make it hard to develop crypto and its technology in the United States. That difficulty could lead to development being pushed offshore. This bill states that some crypto participants, such as miners, validators, hardware and software developers, they won't need to collect the information required by the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. Now, that bill was introduced in March of 2021. Michael Hsu is the acting head of the U.S. Office of the Comptroller of the Currency, and on Monday, he said that it's hard to trust unregulated companies, much more so than it is to trust regulated ones, largely because people right now don't know which crypto firms they can trust. He was speaking at an event in Washington, D.C., when he said that until a trusted third party regulates crypto companies, we won't know which ones we could trust. Currently, no crypto platforms are under consolidated supervision. Hsu compared the FTX crisis to the 1991 collapse of BCCI. BCCI was an international bank that had no single regulator overseeing it. He said that this collapse had striking similarities to FTX and showed that governments need to insist on a single regulatory entity overseeing the entire institution, which does make sense. That makes it harder, though, certainly not impossible, for a product to kind of slip through the cracks. That is, if it's all handled in one house. Now, Hsu said that international organizations like the Financial Stability Board are creating global frameworks for supervising the crypto industry. He said that trust is important and that we've learned this from banking. The Utah State Legislature passed a new law, the Utah Decentralized Autonomous Organizations Act. This law now recognizes DAOs legally and provides them with limited liability. This means henceforth they will be known as Utah LLDs. The creation of this new law was a collaborative effort between the Digital Innovation Task Force and the Utah Blockchain Legislature. On March 1st, 2023, the Utah DAO Act was approved after passing through the Senate and House committees. This law defines who owns DAOs. It also protects the anonymity of those who comply with DAO regulations through bylaws. Additionally, the law introduces quality assurance DAO protocols to guarantee that tax treatment is clear and up to date with the latest DAO functionalities. Joni Pirovic is a blockchain and digital assets tax advisor who worked with the Digital Innovation Task Force. She shared on Twitter that the Utah DAO Act is a significant move for DAO innovation. The law is based on the Koala DAO model law and will become effective in January of 2024. The DAO law was created to allow for maximum flexibility in innovation. It recognizes that DAOs are transnational entities, and it can provide technical protections equivalent to the safeguards that the law requires, albeit through a manual reporting process. During the creation of this law, the Utah Blockchain Legislature had significant concerns that needed to be addressed through compromises. One of these concerns was the anonymity and unaccountability of DAOs, which was dealt with through a compromise that requires DAOs to reveal an incorporator while still maintaining anonymity. The blockchain legislature found that the original tax language used in the bill was incompatible with federal and state tax laws, and as a result, the Utah Tax Commissioner's Office proposed compatible tax language. Another concern was the Utah Division of Corporations that they wouldn't have enough time to handle new applications, and that was why the implementation date of the bill was set for 2024. It also gives them more time to adjust and edit the practical implementation of the bill. Last year, the Republic of the Marshall Islands approved similar legislation to the Utah DAO Act. That law identifies DAOs as legal liability companies and ensures that formal DAO structures are adopted in the state's legal units. Judge Michael Wiles said that the Securities Exchange Commission cannot fine executives at Voyager Digital if the company decides to issue bankruptcy tokens to pay back customers. This decision came on March 6th during hearings about Voyager's plan to sell $1 billion of assets to Binance US and to issue a repayment token. The judge's comments were made on the third day of these hearings. The SEC claimed that the proposed repayment token would be an unregistered security offering. They also said that Binance US is running an unregulated securities exchange. The SEC also opposed a legal protection that said no U.S. agency, including the SEC, could bring any claim related to the restructuring transactions against any person. If the court approves this bankruptcy plan, executives and restructuring advisors involved in Voyager's bankruptcy would be protected from lawsuits. This means they can't get sued for implementing the plan. The SEC thought the legal protections were improper and extraordinary, but Wiles said that the SEC having that kind of authority would leave a sword hanging over anyone involved in the transaction. The SEC's lawyer, Therese Schuer, argued that the legal protections were too broad. She believes that Voyager employees and lawyers would have permission to violate securities laws under this setup. After debate, Voyager's lawyers agreed to narrow the scope of the legal releases. And breaking news tonight, Binance US is taking a huge step towards acquiring the Voyager assets. That's right. The acquisition was approved of by Judge Wiles. This was after the judge overruled the objections raised against it. Although Wiles still needs to finalize the confirmation order, he has expressed his support for the deal. However, Binance US still needs to clear certain regulatory hurdles before the acquisition can be completed. Voyager's VGX token surged over 8% on the news. The plan was supported by 97% of Voyager's creditors. It could enable them to recover nearly 3/4 of their investment. The recovery rate was raised to 73% due to a bullish crypto market, up from the previous estimate of 51%. On July 5th, the trading platform filed for bankruptcy to restructure and return value to more than 100,000 customers. WeChat is China's main social networking and payment app. In fact, Elon Musk has talked about WeChat and how Twitter could be more like them. Well, WeChat has started offering China's central bank digital currency as part of their payment services. The goal of this move is to make the digital yuan more widely accepted. WeChat has included the digital yuan's wallet's fast payment function. WeChat is the second payment platform to do so, after Alipay. With this new feature, users can pay for items on certain WeChat mini programs and other platforms using the digital yuan. The digital yuan application's wallet management page is currently in the pilot stage. It lists 94 merchant platforms, including WeChat. Digital yuan payments can now be made using the WeChat Pay on certain apps, such as McDonald's and bill payments. To use this feature, users need to give permission to the digital yuan wallet operator to synchronize their WeChat-bound mobile phone number, which sounds kind of suspicious to me, to be honest. Once that authorization is complete, then the payment function will be activated. Payment to digital yuan supporting merchants can then be made using the WeChat app. More integrations are expected to be added gradually, none of which surprises me, actually. Nigeria is having troubles getting their population to accept their CBDC. China doesn't want to have that kind of failure on the world stage, so they're going to encourage companies to provide easier methods of adoption to the Chinese population. Ling Hao Bao is an analyst at Trivium China, which is a strategic advisory firm. Now, according to Bao, Chinese customers are heavily reliant on WeChat Pay and Alipay both, so it would be difficult to convince them to switch to a new mobile payment app. Therefore, it does make sense for the central bank to collaborate with WeChat Pay and Alipay instead of creating their own platform. Now, in related news, the Chinese government made an announcement about adding a new national financial regulator. And I'm sorry, I haven't been able to track down the name just yet. I'm not sure that it's been announced. However, in today's announcement, we found out that they were sunsetting the China Banking and Insurance Regulatory Commission. This new administration will take on the responsibilities of the old commission. And also, some of the central bank and security regulators' duties would be transferred to this new regulator. The legislature is expected to vote on the reform plan on March 10th. The new regulator aims to improve supervision on the institutional, behavioral, and functional levels. In China, the financial industry is supervised by three organizations: the People's Bank of China, the China Banking and Insurance Regulatory Commission, which is on the way out, and the China Securities Regulatory Commission. Now, President Xi Jinping called for reforms for both party and state institutions in China. This announcement is part of those reforms. They will also create another bureau to share and develop data resources. This new bureau will take on some of the duties of the Office of Central Cyberspace Affairs Commission. While the Chinese government talked about their new plans for the financial sector, they didn't mention any specific reforms for the crypto industry. In February, an ex-advisor to the People's Bank of China asked regulators to reconsider their ban on crypto. China banned almost all crypto transactions in 2021. It's my belief that they banned crypto because the government was in the process of developing their digital yuan. They've spent millions on it already, and we know the government does not like competition. The Digital Yuan project recently added smart contract functionality and new use cases. These use cases include buying securities and making offline payments. China stood up a new institution on February 8th. It's called the National Blockchain Technology Innovation Center. Now, the purpose of this center is to use blockchain technology to accelerate the growth of China's industries. The digital yuan is currently in the pilot stage in at least 26 Chinese provinces and cities. During the 2023 Lunar New Year shopping season, the digital yuan experienced an increase in transaction volumes on Chinese e-commerce platforms, and that was thanks to digital fiat handouts from the government. In December 2022, Alipay revealed its entry into the digital yuan acceptance network. As a result, users can now use the digital yuan to make purchases on various platforms served by Alipay, such as Taobao, Shanghai Bus, Eli.me, Youbao, Tmall Supermarket, and Hema. On Tuesday, the finance minister of Thailand stated that the cabinet has approved tax waivers for crypto companies. These companies offer investment tokens in the country, and the tax waiver is applicable for both primary and secondary offerings. However, companies must register their token offerings if they want to benefit from the tax waiver. Investment tokens are allowed in Thailand, but the use of cryptocurrencies for payments was banned by the government in March of 2022. Thailand's new crypto tax policy includes investors who won't have to pay the value-added tax for token sales. This exemption is part of the crypto-related VAT waiver that was granted last year, lasting until 2024. The finance minister said that the tax waiver could result in a loss of up to 35 billion baht, or around $100 billion. This represents a loss of revenue for the government over the next 2 years. The crypto tax exemption policy in Thailand does not apply to utility tokens. The finance minister stated that this is because the token's usefulness depends on the promotional activities of their issuers. The SEC has sued Green United for breaking securities laws. The company is accused of selling fake crypto mining equipment worth $18 million. The complaint accuses Green United, its founder Wright Thurston, and its promoter Christopher Krohn of selling green boxes for $3,000 a pop. These machines were supposed to mine green tokens on the green blockchain. Allegedly, investors were informed that the green tokens mined supported a global decentralized power grid. Investors were promised a monthly return of 40 to 50%. Which, really? And people bought that? I mean, literally? Green United allegedly told investors that the secret of their investments depended on the company retaining control of their green boxes. These machines would be hosted remotely at a Green United-controlled data center. Green tokens generated by their machines would be distributed to investors. The SEC claims that Green United's mining machines did not mine green at all. Green was not mineable. and the green blockchain did not exist. Instead, Thurston allegedly created green tokens himself on the Ethereum blockchain. These tokens were sent to investors several months after Green United started selling the machines in April of 2018. According to the SEC, contrary to Krone's representations, green tokens never increased in value. Until the fall of 2020, they were not even tradable on a secondary marketplace. Their current price is far below the promised value of 2 cents per token. Now, the SEC alleges that Green United tricked investors into buying S9 ant miners disguised as these green boxes. The mining equipment actually mined Bitcoin, which investors did not receive. The SEC wants permanent injunctions against Green United, Thurston, and Krone. They are also seeking disgorgement and civil penalties. Now, this is not Krone's first go-round with the SEC. In 2012, the promoter violated federal securities laws by making misrepresentations about a real estate investment program. FTX has sued Grayscale Investment. FTX claims that Grayscale mismanaged the firm and violated trust agreements. The FTX debtors also filed claims against Grayscale CEO Michael Schonenstein, as well as its owners, Digital Currency Group and Barry Silbert. The lawsuit was filed in a Delaware court, and in that suit, Grayscale is accused of taking more than $1.3 billion in excessive management fees over the course of 2 years. The trust agreements were violated, according to the lawsuit, and the lawsuit also claims that the trust used excuses to prevent shareholders from redeeming their shares. And as a result, the trust's shares traded at a 50% discount to net asset value. These excuses were considered contrived. A Grayscale spokesperson stated that the lawsuit is misguided. They said that Grayscale has been transparent in their efforts to obtain regulatory approval to convert its Bitcoin trust into an ETF. Grayscale feels an ETF is the best long-term product structure. Now, FTX is seeking injunctive relief to unlock $9 billion or more in value for shareholders. The firm wants to generate over $250 million in asset value for FTX debtors, customers, and creditors. The complaint alleges that Grayscale could have prevented FTX debtor shares from losing value. They argue that Grayscale should have reduced their fees and stopped preventing redemptions. FTX claims that if Grayscale had taken those steps, FTX debtor shares would now be worth at least $550 million. This amount is approximately 90% higher than their current value. John J. Ray III is the CEO of FTX. Now, he stated that their goal is to unlock suppressed value caused by Grayscale's improper redemption ban and self-dealing. FTX intends to provide additional recoveries for its customers and creditors. Grayscale's actions are harming Grayscale Trust investors, at least according to Ray. And that's going to do it for us tonight. I want to thank you, my listeners, because when you stop listening, I will stop talking. If you enjoyed tonight's show, then please like, follow, subscribe. Leave a rating or review. And in the meantime, we'll see you tomorrow night.